Hey guys, this is SUNSfan and welcome to Artifact 101. This is a multi-video series aimed at teaching you how to play Artifact. Artifact is Valve's digital trading card game. The lore of the game revolves around Dota heavily, and although the gameplay has some similarities with our favorite action RTS, it's still important that we look at them as two completely separate games. I would classify Artifact as a very deep game, with its core being catered around competitive esports. But it's also a game you can pick up relatively easily once you understand the basics, which is what we're here to teach you. We've also created spotlight videos for every hero and card in the game, so be sure to check that out and more at our website artifaction.gg. So without further ado, let's go over some of the basics and then move our way to more intermediate mechanics. The first thing you'll need to know about Artifact, and probably its most unique feature, is that there are in fact 3 boards you need to keep track of throughout the game. They're named simply Lane 1, Lane 2, and Lane 3. As you might expect, you'll start with Lane 1. Once you and your opponent are finished playing cards for that lane, you'll move on to Lane 2 and then 3. The end of the round is when you finish going through all 3 boards. Okay, so what does a typical turn look like, you ask? Well, there are 4 phases in Artifact: the action phase, combat phase, shopping phase, and finally the deployment phase. The action phase occurs in each lane. It'll consist of you and your opponent playing cards. There are some exceptions to this, but for the most part, you'll go back and forth taking turns playing cards until neither of you wants to play anymore. You play a card, they play a card, and back and forth. When you're ready for the next phase, you select the bottom right token. Once your opponent does the same with no more cards being played, the combat phase begins. Please note that if you do pass first and then your opponent plays something, you still have the choice of responding in some way. We'll talk a lot more about the complexities of this in the mechanics section. Overall, the combat phase itself is very quick, as each player's units on board will simply just attack their opponent. We'll also go over this phase in more detail a little bit later. But once you've gone through all the lanes, you'll be able to shop for your items and then deploy any responding heroes to a lane of your choice. And not to sound like a broken record, but we'll go over both of these in more detail soon as well. So the question you're probably asking is, what is the objective of this game exactly? Well, each lane has a tower associated to each player. These towers have 40 health. Once a tower dies, the Ancient becomes exposed in that lane. The Ancient has 80 health. And to win a game, you must either destroy 2 of your opponent's towers or destroy the Ancient itself. Speaking of towers, they all start with 3 mana on the first round, which is the amount of mana you can use on each lane at a time. After each full round, they will all gain an additional 1 mana with no upper limit. Let's look at the general user interface. The top left is the scoreboard, which will show which heroes are in which lanes, which heroes are currently dead or waiting in Fountain, and how much health each respective tower has. The bottom is where your hand is. When the game starts, you'll have 5 cards for the first round, and you'll draw 2 additional ones every subsequent one. In the bottom right and top right will be yours and your opponent's current gold. If this general area is highlighted, it means it's your turn. Over here is the last card played for each player. You can also double-click on creeps and heroes in the lane in order to see more detailed information. You'll also see arrows on the right and left of the screen in order for you to view an inactive lane. By double-clicking the board, you get a grand overview of all 3. And most importantly, on top of your deck is your cuddly little imp. Treat him well, as he'll bring you good luck. Be sure to click the annotation on the screen for the next tutorial. Thanks for watching and subscribing to ArtifactCinema. Be sure to click that bell icon in order to get notified when we put up a new spotlight or guide.